Hello everybody. So today I will present you our application for the final project of Java. So it's called Time Manager, and you will see what is going on. So the presentation will have 4 topics. So first the introduction, where we will just introduce the team and things on. Then we'll see what problem we identify and what is the solution that we provide. Then we will go in the more technical part, where we'll speak about the features and all the flowchart and also the demonstration and the code review. Then we will finish by the target audience and so see who can use this application. So our team is composed by 2 people. So Yu-Wen HSIAO, that is the marketing officer, that was here to create the ID and what are the main problem of it, all the surrounding of it. So more like the ideational part. And me, the app developer, CABANAC, that was here to create the app and do the development and manage technical issue. So our story, what is it? Like we identify 2 factors. That first, with the age, the more you become older, the more you will have responsibility and tasks that you will need to do. Like you will have more things that you need to do in urgence and things like this. And so the thing that comes with it is that the more you have task to think, the less you have a concentration. So the less you can keep track of what you need to do. And so those both factors made that the more you have responsibility, the more you will be anxious, and the more you will lose track of your organization. So we want to solve this. So like I said, the problem is like there is too many distractions in life. Uh, Even more nowadays in our modern life, where everybody is rushing, and you have many distractions all the time, like that push you away from your distraction that push you away from your responsibilities, and so it's hard to focus on what you really need to do. So the reason to use our application to solve those problems is that first it will create you a time audit. So basically it means that we'll have a view on how your day are shaped. So you will know on what you are losing time, what task you have hard time to get started with, and what task takes you longer or less time. So thanks to that, you will see that you can create time for things that you love, since you will know where you have time in your day and where you have not. So you can manage your time better and focus on things that you love, create time for things that you love. Moreover, it will permit you to achieve goals so faster. Like for example, if you try to learn a new language or things like this, creating a time, we call that a period of time for in our application, like a period of time to focus on learning a new language. It will be more easier for you, and so you can, with a daily basis, you will achieve your goal faster. Moreover, you will become a planning master. So that means that you will be much more efficient in organizing your day, and so with more organization, you will go to the next point. Like it will increase your energy because you will be able to free time. So by free up time, you can have more time to rest and more time to, as I said before, do things that you love, and so you will be less anxious first, less stressed, and so you'll have a better time to sleep, and you will free up time to rest if you need. And moreover, and the most important point is that you can focus your time on what matters the most for you, on the activity that's really like have a key point in your life. So what is the driver of our application? It's like basically you need to define goals, and when you have goals that are set, that you know which goal you want to do, what you want to reach. After you just have to schedule them, like just do the scheduling, and after our application will do the rest. So we'll see in deeper what is our solution about. So first, you set a period of time that shape your ideal day. So think about what you how you want to shape the day, the ideal day, to reach your goals, and like what life you want to have, basically. Then you will be able to customize when you want to get reminder from your application. So, for example, if you prefer to have a reminder at the beginning or at the end or at the both end or and the start of a period. Like for example, if you are eating, if it's a period to eat, maybe you will want to get notified at the beginning, but you don't really care to be notified at the end of this period. But for example, if it's to sleep, maybe you want to have a reminder to tell you when to sleep and a reminder to tell you when to wake up, of course, like an alarm. And then just the third step is just once you customize and set your period, just let the application manage your time. Really simple. So now we'll see the flowchart of our application. So application is divided in three main activity. So first there is the connection activity, just like you start from here. You just have to fill your account information, and then if you already have an account, you will be logged in. If you are not don't have an account, you will be registered. And so if you have valid information, of course you can go to the next activity, or not, you need to fill the account information with valid information. Then we have the cycle activity. So the cycle activity will just display you your cycle, your day cycle. So on which day it apply, and the period that you have. So if you have a period, it will display the period. If it doesn't have any period, you will go to the period activity in order to set them. Moreover, if you want to change your period, if it's yes, yeah, you go to the period activity again to manage them, like delete or add them. And if not, you just update the notification system. So in the period activity, it's display an empty form for you, an empty period form to fill it. So if you want to add a period, you just fill the period information. So the name, when it starts, when it ends, and if you want to get notified or not. And if you don't want to add, it means that you want to delete a period. So you just have to fill the ID and click on delete. Then if you want to add more period, add or delete period, you go, like it will display you again empty form to fill. And if not, you come back to the cycle activity and update the notification system in order to get notified. So what is the architecture of our solution? So first, you have the client. So the client is an Android application that is connected to a server, a remote server, by sockets. So the client will send information to the server, and the server will send the information back to the client. So the client will receive the information from the server. The server is connected to a database in MySQL, and so the server will set the data and get the data. So it's basically just to manage like the account, the cycle, like the frequency, thing like this, and manage the period simply. And then we have the client that will notify directly the Android system. So actually your application can be asleep, just that the application will set in the smartphone, in the Android system, notification that will come at the right time. So now we'll see the feature in details. So first you have the creation and the connection to an account. So basically to log in. Then you can manage the frequency. So the day frequency basically is that you can set on which day you want to have your cycle to apply. If you want to have, for example, you define your ideal day for weekdays, but on the weekend you don't want to get any notification, you just have to set it. Then we have to create and the feature that is creating and deleting period. So like I show in the flowchart. And then there is the being able to be notified at the start or at the end of a period. So now we'll see a little demonstration. So in the first one, we'll create an account first. So I will put user demo and the password, of course. So we register, and so here is the main view, but here there isn't period. So we'll create a sleep period. So for example, we want to go sleep at 1:39. I made this to be able to see the notification, and it will end at 8 a.m. But we don't put a reminder. So here you can see the application was created, the period was created, and so we apply the change. Now we'll create other period, for example, a work period that will start at 8 when we wake up, and here we will notify it, and it will end at noon 30. So we add it, and we create another one that is the dinner time, for example, and that will just start at 19:30, and you want to notify it in order to know when to close to it. And so here you can see that we get the I will pause it. So we can see that we get the time manager application that just sends us the message, the notification. So sleep period begin. So it means that now you need to go to sleep. And so now we finish the dinner period. So 21. Oh shit! I started. Sorry. Okay, and so here you can see that you have the main page of application, so the cycle frequency with the days, and a tab that shows you all the periods that are active right now. So with the ID in order to delete them, the name, work, and the start time if they are notifying or not, something like this. So now we'll start to see the second one, where we will log to the account this time and delete an application period. And moreover, we'll change the cycle frequency. So now we just log in. So you can see that we have the same period. So we will delete the the work period. So we just have to put the ID, click on delete, and when we go back on the main one, you can see that we just release one, and you can see that Saturday and Sunday was an update. So now we won't. We'll just get notified for the sleeping period and the dinner period at the beginning of them, and just on weekdays, basically. So that's how our application is working. Now we'll do a small code review. Like I will, there is a lot of code, but I will try to be. So we will start with the server. So what the server is about, just create a communication. So I will go further. The communication is just an object to encapsulate the communication part, and so to manage the exchange with the client. So after while it's true, so we'll just see what message we get from the client, basically. And so in order, depending on what we do, we'll send to the API object method. So the API object will be here to manage all the behavior of our application, and will make the link with the database. So we'll show you the communication part. So the communication part basically is like we just create a socket and the buffer reader and the buffer writer. So in the create them in the constructor, and after there is one to get a new connections, one method to get new connections, one method to get the input from the client, and that will return the input with all the arguments of the message that we get from the client. And then we have a method to send the output back to the client. And so all the time we notify like this. Like actually you can see like a previous test. Actually it's the one from the demonstration where we show the the request to the database and what we get and what we send to the client and what the client sends. Okay, so now I'll show you the API. So the API is basically all the method, like all the requests that can do the client can do. So for example, there is add a new user when we register, when we log in, when we set a cycle, so with the frequency, when we get a cycle, when we add a new period, get a period, and delete a period. So all what the user could do. And so basically in most of them, it's just like doing a query to the database using the database object that I created to encapsulate the database usage. And so we send the request you want to do on it. Okay, and after we send back a message, like for example error or success, or different things. After for the database object, I'll show you later in more details. There is two kind of method to update if we want to like do, for example, an insert query that we will just return like success or error, like you can see here. Or for example, there is a do query. For example, if we want to get the period, we do a query that we select will return results. So we'll get information from the database. So I'll show you the database object. So the database object is basically we just create a connection with the database on that is in MySQL, and so we create the segment in the constructor. After when we do an update, we basically just send a request and display it, and if it works, we return 0, or if it doesn't work, we return 84 in order to keep track of what it's doing, error management. And then we have the do query. That's a bit more complicated. It's because you need to get the result, and so there we will just put the result in a double array of string, and so the first array will contain all the different line, and the second array will contain all the different elements of all the different value of an element, attribute of an element. So basically, if we want to get period, it will return all the period with all the ID, all the name, all the starting date, starting time, and so on. So that's basically all the server is working, and so basically that's it. Then I will show you the database. So in the database we have three tables. So the first one is user. When we have the user ID, the username, and the password. Then we have the period table, where there is the ID, the user ID, of course, the name, when it starts, when it ends, and that is to see if we do an alert or not at the start and at the end. Then we have the cycle table that will have a user ID and a value for every of the days. So it's a Boolean value actually. Like int 0 for if it's active on this day, or 1 if it's 0 if it's not active, and 1 if it's active on this day. So basically that's how the database is shaped. And so now I will show you the client. So the client has three different views. So as you can see, one for the login, one to set a period, and one to display the period and the frequency, the cycle frequency. So basically, you already saw them in the demonstration. So now we'll see in brief details. So when we create it, we have all the link, of course. We create an intent right now in order to be able to go to the next view. And so since we are doing the socket on the Android application and the communication with the server, all the communication parts need to be on thread in order to not block the main thread where we'll have the UI render. So basically we have our we have different methods that will be here that will be launched by the button. So on the click login, the login method will start. And so here we just create a thread. We create a thread and we start it. And so for example, if we take the login thread, it's this one. So at the constructor we take the intent that we created before, and we'll just execute the command. The communication will send the request to the server asking to log in, and if we get success, we close this we close this activity, sorry, and so we get to the next one. We start a new one, and so after we need to go back on the UI thread. I will show you the communication objects. Show you what is it. So basically, we create a communication using a socket, and after, as on the side of the server, we just get basically one method to get the response, so that will read on the the response and send back or send a request, so that will write a request on the buffer writer. So then we have the sales cycle activity. So basically, a sales cycle, we the same way we first create a thread to get all the information, to gather all the information, and we create a notification channel. Since it's from here that we will create a notification. And so basically, when we start, we'll create the notification channel. So it's basically just creating a channel to send the notification, to send the notification in a channel to for the system. And we have the cycle thread and the period thread. Basically, there will just be a thread that will be start when the activities start, and we want to gather the information from the so for example, if we take this one, we'll set the request get cycle, we'll take the response, then we will split the response in order to manage it after. And so after, we'll on the UI thread, we'll go back on the UI thread and set, for example, like if we in the first element of the reply it's equal to 1, we set the Monday check to true, and basically for all of them. And here, for example, to get the period, we'll have we'll have 6 different rows, and we will just ask for the request to get a period, and split them in order to have them properly. And after, for everything that we get, we'll add an element in each of the string. And so by getting the element one by one. After we that's an important part, we'll create a period. So using another class, a class period, it will enable us to create the notification. So we create the period and we put it in the period list. And after we update all the view, we update the view. And so I want to show you is the update thread. No. Yeah, basically, when we after we have a button, when we will click on it, it will update all the information in the. I can't find it. Okay, that's it. That's yeah. So when we want to apply change, so when we click on the apply to the system, it will call this method that will apply all the change. So basically, we'll take which day was checked according to what we registered to the server and what the user could have changed. And so we basically fill a week array with all the data. Then we'll start the trade update trade. So basically, because I remember you, we need to do when we are doing a communication with the server, we need to be on a trade. So here we just send the request set cycle to set the actual week that we want. And then for all the period that we put in the list, we will create an intent. So one, it will be for the it's the intent to do a notification. So we put the name of the actual period, the time. So here it's begin, and here the other intent is to when it's finished. Then we will create a pending intent that is in order to release an intent in the time, in a defined time. So and after we will use like here is the actual period. So we'll go in the period object to and use the manager to create the notification in the system. So it's what we will see now. So we go in the period. So period, basically we just create it with all the information of a period. We can get our name like as we saw just before. And so when we call the manager, we'll if the start alarm. So if we said that we want to start to have an alarm at the start, we'll set an alarm with the intent that send the message. For example, sleep period start, and if it's at the end, an intent that will say sleep period end, and moreover will send the time. So here the start time and the end time. And so in set alarm, we can see that we'll create an alarm manager, and that we will use the calendar. And so we just basically set the calendar to the time that we define in the period. And after we'll set an exact alarm. So we'll see later what an alarm is like an action that will run on the system, and this alarm will be a notification. So that means that it will wake up the application, wake up the phone, sorry, and so that will start at the calendar time and use the intent. And so basically this will just set on the system the intent that we want to do at what time. And so when the time is coming, the system will call the on receive that is not our notification on receiver. And so basically it's here that we will create a notification. So here we will create a notification. So with which logo we want to use, which channel it's using, the title of it, the contents of the text, the priority of the notification, and so on. And so after we create the manager for it, and with the manager we notify we send the notification, and so that's how you receive the notification. So basically, I think we see everything for the code in the large line. And so now we go back to the presentation. So what is our customer? So what customer we want to aim on? Like people that have many tasks that need to do many things and manage organize their life. So for example, there is like students that have lots of different class and they start to have responsibility in life and like in organization skill. Or there is like people in work that have high responsibility and have many things to think, and have huge responsibility and can't miss anything. Or for example, just like for example, people that are really busy in their life, like for example, a mother that we need to think to everything in order to manage the family well, or like the man, like actually everybody that have many things to think and really don't want to lose them and still want to have time to live their life, take a rest and enjoy. So to have a better organization in their life. So what are our competitor? So there is a N-task or just simple like calendar or be-focus timer that will permit you to get timer and or for example there is the main one is to-do list that do actually what we are doing but without the period aspect and the notification aspect. It will permit you to do a list of what you need to do. So actually we are sitting in the middle of all the application by like merging at the same time task that you need to do in your daily life and at the same time notification that you can see on calendar or be-focus timer. And so where to run? So it's run on Android like we demonstrated before. And the deployment will be on Google Play. So just have to download the application. And so when to use, it's actually the big aspect of our application is that you can use it all the time. Like you just have to set it once, and after you can just do like simple modification or customization, and you can use it without particular attention in your everyday life. So all the day of your week. So thank you for your attention, and see you.